Hello, everybody. It's been a while since we started a live stream, hasn't it? So today should be kind of interesting. It's been, I don't know, man. It's been like months since I started. Let's just turn that off. It's been months since I started live streaming. Well, maybe not months, maybe like a month or so. It's kind of one of those things where you start getting into you keep having stuff come up in your day and then your week, and then one Sunday doesn't work, and then another Sunday doesn't work, and then eventually you just get into this habit of not even streaming, and then I was like, whatever. So, if it's a little rough, I haven't live streamed in a while, so I apologize, guys. What's up, everybody? TA, JJ Pablo, Misha, Viking Cam, Nick Tan. What's up, Nick? Okay. All right, so this is a Q&A. So let me tell you guys the story first. So I live in a place it's not like, I live in Washington, right? But I don't live in like some cold, desolate environment like a lot of people think. I kind of live in we get into like the high 90s in the summer at like its peak, and then we get into the teens at its peak in the winter. Not like negative temperatures, I'm talking Fahrenheit here, obviously, because 90 degrees Celsius, everybody would be dead. But when I was kind of doing this thing for the Patreon, where and I'm sorry to bring up Patreon, I'm not talking about the Patreon, I'm just talking about the purpose of what I'm about to tell you. But so I was doing a video for the Patreon being like, hey, if anybody was considering, like, it's beautiful here. It's February, I was literally at the beach, just in like a sweater, just chilling. It was gorgeous outside. And then I was like, if the weather's stopping you from moving down here because you think it's like some crazy hostile environment, it's not. And then literally like 2 days later, it started snowing, and it's currently snowing. I thought about live streaming outside because it's beautiful, but I don't I don't think that's gonna work, because it's cold. It's like 15 degrees this morning, cold, and snowy, and like there's a lake that's kind of near us. Actually, it's like a, I don't know, 10-minute walk, 2-minute drive, and it's almost completely frozen over. Yeah, this polar vortex. We're getting like the tail end of it, so it's not that bad for us, but it's definitely pretty crazy. So yeah, that's been fun. Yeah, Chase, Seattle's pretty, like, we're outside of Seattle. We live in like a suburb of Seattle, essentially. And we love it here. Like, it's cloudy, like, I don't know, 70–80% of the year, I would assume. I don't know for sure, but it's cloudy a lot of the year. So glad to be back, though. I don't know how many of these I'm going to be able to do. I have some other stuff that I have planned for, not necessarily live streaming, but for like podcasty type thing. Like, this is kind of a podcast essentially, and stuff like that. So I have some stuff planned, not necessarily for audio, but second channel type of stuff. So I'm going to start answering some questions here since it is a Q&A. Forgive me for talking on and on here. I've only been to Seattle. I miss the Sundara. Oh, I already read that. Hi Viz, Brian's beard. What's up, man? It's nice to have you here. Are you planning on going to any of the Cam Jam events this year? No. Maybe later during the year, but as of right now, no. They're costly, and honestly, audio moves so slow that it's not like going to like a car event where you're gonna see like a bunch of brand new tech and stuff like that. Like, occasionally you find new tech, but audio events are, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like kind of the same thing from what I gather. Like, companies generally have flagships for years and years and years, and so going to the same audio event, or it kind of feels like you're just going to the same audio event essentially with different people and different places. Misha says, what's the biggest thing you look different now? Okay, what is the biggest thing you look different to now now that you have more experience in the audio world? Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Um, that's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about that. Like, I guess I would say that I used to be a much more tonal sensitive guy. Like, I used to care a lot about like tonality. Like, I still care about it, but it's since been molded into a bunch of other considerations. Like, I guess my judgment is now a little bit more complete of an analysis than it was before. I always paid a lot of attention, but you know, as you get more experience, and especially as headphones start coming in, you start to, especially if you listen to the same songs you generally listen to, you start to kind of pick up on things that you didn't even know were there in that song before. And so when the, you know, so when the next headphone comes along, you're like, oh, I remember hearing that particular part of that headphone. And so I start to pay attention to kind of the gaps in the music, I guess, would be my roundabout answer. So yeah, I guess I'm more, to wrap it up in a phrase, I guess I would say that I'm more sensitive to what is missing now. My opinion on speakers on a personal level. I love speakers. I do. It's something that I want to review, and I'm going to have to start with in studio use, or like not studio, but like desk use, because out in the front room we love to have speakers out there, but I live in an apartment complex, and if it's too noisy, even during the day, because I work from home, it's just, it's not something that I can properly judge out in the front room, and I can't add subwoofers and things like that. I mean, I can. I just risk getting like a lot of noise complaints, and that's not good. And then, so on desk use though, for like a 2.0 system, I'm perfectly fine judging those. That's where I want to start. Yeah, I know it's not a perfect solution, and I of course judge them outside of that just to see like, hey, are they any good here? But I can't do like big, large room speakers yet, unfortunately. So I have some stuff coming from Emotiva. I have these micas here right now. Mike is sending me another pair. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, who I've talked to about the Swans, and if you're watching right now, I'll get back to you, I promise, eventually. So yeah, I love speakers though. They're just a little hard for me to review, because one, I don't have that many coming into the channel. And I don't have obviously as much experience with speakers as I do with headphones, but I love speakers just for different reasons and different purposes. And they give you, it's interesting because they give you two different perspectives on sound, and that's what I like. Sennheiser 660S or monoprice M1060 for jazz and smooth vocals like Celine Dion. Celine Dion's amazing. Nora Jones is also amazing. Not familiar with Sarah though. Probably the 660s. I mean, if you're a vocal person, that's one of the best headphones that you can get. But you said jazz, and that makes me kind of think a little bit about the M1060s more because they have a better representation of soundstage, in my opinion. I feel like they have a very natural sounding soundstage, whereas the 660 is obviously very intimate. But then I guess I would defer to your preference on what you like. So there you go. 660 is my guess, unless you really value, unless like on your totem pole of values, if soundstage is really, really high, then I would check that one. Then I would check out the M1060s. So Seattle winters are like Finnish summers. Yeah. Yeah, basically. What part of the city are you in? Cheers from Ballard. So I'm on like the cusp of, I can't remember the area. So I don't know if it's Bellevue is that way. I'm on like the cusp of Kent and Bellevue area. I'm like at the top of the area of, or top of the hill in Kent, right next to Bellevue. So, all right, I gotta catch up on some comments here, I'm sorry. Any recommendation or any pad recommendations for the M560s? Not really. I think Z had some like Sony pads that he recommended that were supposed to be pretty good, but I never tried them. Oh wow, I'm really behind. Okay. Do you listen to metal? What headphones do you think are good for metal? Usually something dark and bassy because with me, metal is like I want it to be really impactful. But if it's a really bright and crisp headphone, it's usually pretty intense. I don't listen to super heavy metal though. Like the most I'll listen to is like Hailstorm, Avenged Sevenfold. Like that's about as hard as I'll go. So yeah. All right, can you guys hear me yet? Is there any issues still? Hopefully not. Thoughts on ZMF headphones? Yeah, some guy just emailed me, I think his name was John, about ZMF headphones, and he offered a few of them. I don't think he's gotten back to me yet. Maybe he has. I'll have to check after this. And I think he's going to send me some, I think. And I like him. I haven't ever reviewed him. I've just heard him at an event, but that's about it. Okay. Hey mate, you all right? Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little tired. Long night, cold night. Why didn't you consider the DT 1990 along with the HD 800 HU 1000? Well, for a couple reasons. I wanted to keep that high-end comparison video between like flagships, and I know they're not current flagships, but I think all of those were flagships at one point. And on top of that, I also had the HE6s here at the same time, and I was gonna add those, but it was already like 30 minutes long, and comparing like 5 and 6, it just gets more and more complicated, more and more deviations and things like that. So yeah. Yeah, so I did try EQing the HD800. I have no problem with people buying the 800 and fixing it, but it's hard for me to recommend to like a general purchaser. I don't think they're worth, or they're I hate to get something and then have to be like, you have to fix it, right? I don't think you should have to fix anything. If you like fixing things, you can go get it, and that's cool, but yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on comments here. What kind of jazz though? I don't know who you're asking. If you're asking me, I listen to all sorts of types of jazz. I mean, I listen to jazz as like a broad category, not really anything specific, not like freeform jazz or you know, anything like that, but can you suggest an amp DAC for the M1060's budget is 300 to 350 for metal? An amp DAC? I don't know. Maybe a Un. I mean, it's a planar, so you'll want a solid state. It's not super hard to drive, so you don't need a ton of power. You just want clean power. So yeah, you could get like a Un, whatever their DAC amp is. I can't remember. It's the X7. No, that's just the amp. X1S maybe. Whatever the. Here, I'll just look it up. I'll look it up here. Yeah, they're X1S, I think is the DAC amp. I'm not sure how much it runs, but I think it runs about that. And then that's if you're running single-ended. If you're running balanced, I don't know of a good, or I haven't tried a good one that's in that price range. So yeah, that's $249. That's a great deal. I'm supposed to get the X7S in here soon, but from what I hear, and this is just my recommendation from what I hear from other people whose opinion I value, this is a pretty good one, and I think it measures pretty well too, if I'm not mistaken. So, Israel Cruz says, "Why was the GoFundMe canceled?" Couple reasons. One, people were accusing me, like the primary one was that people were accusing me of like cash grabbing or, you know, trying to like take money. And it's a little disheartening because the truth of the matter is I wasn't making a single cent off of that, which is, I wasn't trying to make money off of it. It was just one of those things where if you wanted, like, here's how I viewed the situation. And I'm a little bit defensive about it because, you know, it is what it is. And people were kind of not responding to it super well, which is a big part of the reason why I took it down. But my perspective on that was like, hey, if you want to put money towards something that you value on the channel, do it. If you don't want to put money towards it, I'm not jamming it down your throat. I'm not going to force you to sign up. I'm not doing anything really. To anybody who doesn't want it. It's going to be at the end of the reviews. It's going to be non-intrusive in any way, but if you do care, go ahead and support if you want it. And I don't think people viewed it that way for whatever reason. And I really can't figure it out because it's a $200 item. I was asking for $220 to cover tax and GoFundMe's cut. So I literally was going to have to pay money after all that was taken out to get the product. I wasn't gaining any money from this, so it wasn't a cash grab. You can see on the Mini DSP Ears website how much that thing is, and I was going to buy it flat out. I sent them an email a couple weeks before I made that video, and asking if they wanted to send one out for a review, at least for me to check out, if not for them to kind of like sponsor the channel or something like that if they were interested, and they didn't respond. So that's when I went to the GoFundMe option. And then the response was super negative, which was a little bit disheartening, because it was like something that I wasn't making any money off of. I was trying to help the channel, and I was trying to say, hey, like, if you care about this, you can support. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. Like, it doesn't involve you if you don't want it. You don't have to put any money towards it. It's not going to interrupt the reviews in any way. And then, you know, so it just, like, it doesn't feel good when you're trying to help, like, I'm trying to add context to reviews, and it doesn't feel good when I'm trying to help my reviews to help you guys make, you guys as a general audience, to make an informed decision about the headphones that you're trying to buy. And, you know, every little bit of information can help in a decision like that. And then to have people like accuse you of stealing money or begging for money or whatever, it's like, no, like the DSP, like, they don't help me because I get to hear the headphone, right? I get to listen to it. I don't need the sound demo. It's to help other people, and it's more work on my part, and it's not going to add any, like, it's not going to add anything to benefit me in any major way. Like, it was simply to help other people. And then for people to accuse me of stuff, it didn't feel good. And you know, it's like, it just wasn't worth tarnishing my name, I guess, over. So I canceled it, completely refunded everybody. I didn't gain a cent from it, and deleted the GoFundMe video and just moved on. They didn't, you know, people didn't seem to want it, so it didn't happen. It's pretty simple, but it, you know, at the end of the day, it kind of sucks. What did I have before the Atom? I don't know what you mean. Like the JDS Labs Atom? I haven't heard that yet. Unless he's asking somebody else. Have you demoed the Micro IDSD Black? I was between that and the Mojo. Thoughts on running the 650s and T50s. So the IDSD Black is it's a very powerful amplifier. I say this half informed. I'm not perfectly informed. I haven't tried all their products, but I will not name them specifically, but me and several other audio reviewers, bigger audio reviewers than me, have all had, and me included, have all had iFi send them products, and all of them have broken. Mine broke. I couldn't get a response from. They sent me the XDSD that broke. They sent some higher end products and the XDSD to other people, the other audio reviewers, and those broke. So I don't know what's going on with iFi right now. It's not looking good for them. But so I would stray away from it just because it's, yeah. Some people just want to watch world burn. Don't let them get to you. Well, I mean, okay, so with like negative comments and stuff like that, I really brush it off. It really doesn't seem to affect me that much. Like occasionally I'll get a comment there. I'm like, that little bitch, but, but it is what it is, man. Like people have their opinions, and I'm happy that they do. But for whatever reason, it's just something to where like, you know, if people see me as some cash grabber, that's not a good look. And that's, I mean, you guys have seen my reviews. I try and keep them very consistent, and the reason why is because I want to have a very obvious, like, you know, direct approach, and I value my honesty and my integrity. And when people start accusing me of being the opposite of that, like I want to recorrect course to realign their views as quickly as possible, because that's not and yeah, group 935, I am jumping other people's questions. There's so many freaking questions in here. I can't answer all these right now. I'm trying to get to the interesting ones, man. I'm not even reading all of them. I had to scroll through, and I hate to just read and read and read. Should I buy a portable amp? The electrical quality is really bad here. I mean, I guess it depends on how bad you're talking. If you're just like general house stuff, I see no reason to fall into that. Like you need a what do they call them? The regenerators or the like audiophile power strips. I see no reason to fall into that. I've tried other power strips, not like audiophile power strips, but I've tried straight out of the wall into different power strips, into like, you know, at different areas of the house, different plugs, power conditioners. That's one. Thank you, Wero. And I see no benefit of it, no benefit whatsoever. But if your audio or if your electricity is like horrible, where you're like literally getting gaps in electricity, like massive like shutdowns in your electricity from time to time, then yeah, probably. I mean, you know, if your lights are flickering or something like that, you're probably having a major issue with that. But if you're considering a portable amp, I would put that money towards fixing your electricity, unless it just happens to be like your network, you know, in your city. I don't know where you live. But so I'm gonna try and catch up to where I was. I'm sorry for trying to read this here. Yeah, so the Atom is it's one of the cleanest measuring amps, especially for $100. It's not super powerful, but honestly, I think power is something that people tend to fall into a little bit harder than they always should. Sometimes it's required, like if you're listening to organs, like you need a bit of power to run them, and that's just how it is. But for the majority, like most headphones, you don't need like crazy amount. Like these 558s here, great sounding headphone, but they're not super power hungry, so you can get away with something super clean. What kind of just a black? I think it's the house blend for Starbucks. I bought some of the the ground the grounds yesterday. So why you do such expensive headphone reviews? Great question. I don't try to, but honestly, there's a few people who I haven't gotten back to yet. So if you've emailed me, I haven't got back to you. I just haven't got a chance to run and go through all my emails and make sure I didn't miss anybody. And but if you offer to send in the headphone, I'll pretty much always say yes unless it's something that I, for some reason, want to avoid or it's not relevant now. Like doing reviews, especially with the quality, the video quality and the time that I had to put into it. I want to do reviews and headphones that people can get currently, and doing like old school headphones that aren't available anymore. It's kind of hard for me to justify doing that because it's just kind of show and tell, but it's like, haha, you can't have this type of thing. So I want to, have something that's currently available on the market at least. And just for whatever reason, recently the majority of the headphones that people are offering are high-end headphones. So I really do anything like these. I'm gonna do these 558s. I think these are like $70. So kind of definitely on the lower end of how expensive things can get. But yeah, so. Is that a 55 SE you just died? It's a 558. Yeah, 558. It's not an SE. I haven't tried the Westone W80. I think it's really hard to have this hobby in Colombia. I really value your reviews and opinions. I think they're sincere. Thanks. Appreciate it, Manuel. Yeah, I've heard foreign countries are foreign from the United States. Sorry, I guess it's not foreign to your particular country if you're in it. Every other country is foreign from your perspective. But foreign countries from the United States are from what I hear, pretty difficult and expensive to like ship things in. So, why don't I use my DSLR for streaming? Well, it's annoying. You got to get like your whole like OBS setup, and every time you stream, it's like you got to make sure all your settings. Whereas the phone, yes, it doesn't look great, but you just you plug it into some power and then turn it on and you're good to go. It's like all finished for you. So for this type of thing, where I'm gonna delete this after 24 hours anyways, and it's not meant to be visually appealing. So it is what it is. I just prefer the most streamlined way possible. Unless like for whatever reason if I can figure out how to kind of streamline the OBS thing where I can just start and it's easier, then I'll do it. But I haven't really looked into it. But yeah. Also, this is like a pain in the butt to shoot with sometimes. The Sonys act up a little bit. Christoph says, "Hey fan, hey fan, hey Joshua, huge fan of your channel. Anyone has a good recommendation recommendation for 2 can collection. I already had the Sennheiser 6XX. I'm looking for a second can. Sounds like a shirt for EDM. You can look at the 4XXs, same price range, completely different sound signature. That's like a really good pairing for about the same cost. What's a good DAC amp for the Argons? I don't know. When you're talking about most headphones, there's usually a number of DAC amps that sound like a large number of DAC amps that sound very good on it. So you want something that has quite a bit of power out of the single-ended. Usually about like 3 watts or more is pretty much what I would recommend. So I would look for something like that. Try and get as clean as you can, but obviously as you go up in power and cleanliness, you're going to be paying more. So just look around in the market. You'll be able to find a lot of things that will work well. You should stream on Twitch using the different headphones you review. So, okay, here's the thing about Twitch. I'm going to go off on a little mini, oh shit. I'm going to go off on a little mini rant here. So, YouTube is one of those things where it can very easily become an addiction. And when something becomes an addiction, you know, you're just like YouTube is a social media essentially. And you put things out, you get views on it, you get likes on it, you get dislikes on it. And that promotes you to put more things out and more things out and more things out. And Twitch is kind of the same way, except Twitch is, it's one of those things where you can get sucked up in spending so much time on Twitch through some false sense of obligation that it's like, it's crazy. And to be perfectly honest with you, I know a couple of streamers and they know a network of streamers and those streamers know a network of streamers, and I don't know anybody who has done Twitch for a long time that enjoys it. And so Twitch is just not something that like I really feel like I want to get into, you know? Like I don't know. It's different than YouTube. I understand the value of it. I'm not arguing that. It's just not something that I personally really care to do, you know? Joshua, can you try to get a new EVGA sound card on paper? It beats everything else that's in the market currently. It's really worth giving a chance. I mean, I guess I could try, but like, I don't know if that's in my wheelhouse. It's hard to, I have no comparison, that's the problem. I mean, I feel like to compare accurately, I would want to compare against other sound cards, right? But I don't know. How come you never did a full review of the M1060C? Because I have not had the M1060C. I've never even heard the M1060C, which is so surprising because everyone's like, oh my god, the M1060C. There's been a couple people who have offered, but like nothing's actually like stuck and actually gotten here. So it is what it is. I'd love to. I really like the M1060s. They have a couple problems, but overall I think it's a great headphone. And the problems that plagued other people didn't really seem to bug me that much. Alternative to the Argon Mark III if I don't want to buy a new amp just for the Argons. There's not really an alternative to Argons. There's other great headphones in the price, but nothing major that sounds like the Argons. Like, the Argons are pretty unique. I kind of consider the Nighthawks to be like mini Argons in a sense. Like, they kind of sound somewhat similar, but like the Argons are on it's on a different level. So, but yeah, I can't think of anything that would replace it. Like, okay, so it's not a headphone that you need like an absolute shit ton of power for. Like, I'm trying to think of I wonder if I could run this off the Spark. I don't know. But you do need some power. It's just not like, you don't need like 8 watts of Class A power or anything like that. You don't need like ridiculous amounts. You just need a decent amount. Okay, I know it's stupid, but why all expensive headphones have stereo only when 7.1 surround sound is the high quality sound of this generation? Okay, that is stupid. Sorry, but 7.1 in headphones is complete horseshit. One, if you know anything about audio, the 0.1 stands for a subwoofer. Do you see a subwoofer attached to the headphone? No. So, okay. Here's the thing. 7.1 is a virtual system, and a virtual system is basically an illusion between, at least regarding headphones, is a simulated illusion between 2 different drivers. The same illusion as stereo. They can, and what they tend to do is they tend to DSP the sound to sound a little bit more. Usually they add things like reverb and slight adjustments to frequency ranges and boosts in certain frequencies and reductions in other frequencies to make the sound like it's coming from a particular place. But 7.1 surround sound in headphones is almost always complete horseshit. All it is a headphone that has a DSP correction before it actually plays to the plays to the drivers that makes the sound like it's usually coming from further away, and then the rest is just handled by the illusion of your head, basically. There are a few headphones out there that actually have multiple drivers in them. I think Razer makes one, but it's still not a 7.1 because there's no 0.1, there's no subwoofer, and so it's 7.1 can definitely exist in speakers. And it's a real thing in speakers, but it's all software, and in my opinion, not always good software on headphones. And honestly, like, it's just kind of one of those things where the marketing for it worked, and for the general population, they think a 7 point. And I mean general population as in, like, you know, general population, people who go to Best Buy, read the thing, and just assume it's the best. And it's kind of one of those things that's been picked up by company after company, and the marketing for it unfortunately worked. But it's, for headphones, it's complete and utter bullshit. Like, it's not even questionable. It is bullshit. It is just an illusion through DSP. It's not legitimate 7.1. I don't know how it's even legal for some of these companies to actually say that. Like that it is 7.1, because it's not. Like, I guess you could say, well, 7.1 is just a number, and it says surround sound. It's like, well, it is technically surrounding because it's coming from 2 different places. I don't know. It pisses me off, man. So, sorry for that little rant there. Haven't listened to the Aeon Flow closebacks, no. So there are headphones that have like, there are headphones that have what I would, it's not 7.1, but it is what I would consider to be 3-dimensional sound, which is it's half 3-dimensional sound, which is or it's more perspective sound change is really what it is. It's the Mobius. So the Mobius, you can turn your head and you can listen, like basically the music stays here, whereas normally on your head, you know, if you're wearing a pair of headphones, the music position travels where you move your head because nothing's changing. But with the Mobius, they DSP correct on the fly to basically keep your head to be, or they allow your head to move and the music to stay in the same position. That stuff's really cool. Why I don't call it 3-dimension is because, like, technically, even 3-dimension would be able to be, instead of just this, you'd be able to move out of the frame and continue to hear it from over there. That would be true 3-dimensional sound, in my opinion. but you know, that would be 3 dimensions, and the real world would allow you to do that. But the Mobius has other high fidelity, not issues, it's just not the most high fidelity headphone. But a lot of that is just the filter that they're filtering the music through, right? So it's still a very capable headphone, and honestly, if you were to put it on somebody's head who has never heard a good headphone, it's a really impressive headphone. But if you're not into it's not a gimmick, because it does work. It works really well, actually, for what it does. But if you're not into that tech, if you're not into that positional audio thing, then just the headphone as it stands, there are other better headphones. But yeah, and I have some questions about the use case and stuff like that, but overall, it's pretty interesting. Would you consider the Omron Home or the DT1990 to be different enough to warrant picking up both? Are they a better value warm sounding headphone than the Omron? Thanks, fam. So I'm assuming by your comment you already have the Omron. You made a mistake there, buddy. So I don't like the Omron Home that much. It's a good headphone, but I think if you were to consider between the 1990 and the Omron Home, they're close enough in sound to not really warrant a second purchase, but the 1990 is clearly, to me and my preference, a better headphone than the Omron Home is. The Omron Home is not a bad headphone, but between the two, I would pick the 1990 for almost every single circumstance, including build and comfort. I didn't really find the Omron Home to be that comfortable over the 1990. So yeah, but I know that I haven't tried the Verum ones. I know a guy who is currently waiting for them. I think he's obviously going to listen to them first because they're him, or they're his. And then when he gets tired of them, hopefully he'll send them my way. Maybe not, but I'm hoping. Hazu 59. I think the Mobius has potential, but the technology isn't there yet. Really, I felt like the technology, like I think there's definitely an expanding. There's definitely things that the technology can expand into, but I thought the technology was definitely there. I thought it worked. Like for me, it worked perfectly well, and I really didn't have any problems with it. So somebody asked how bothersome is the treble in the DT1990. So the 1990 definitely has a treble peak, and I pretty much narrowed it down. Well, not I, but me and a number of other people have pretty much narrowed the issue with treble peaks down to basically something that's not going to be able to be changed, which is ear canal shape. Because like the peak, the decibel difference between the sound, the stock sound and the peak is about the same decibel difference as on the HD800s, but for whatever reason the HD800s really kill my ears, whereas these, even in stock form, do not. Mine are modified though, because even though it doesn't completely destroy my ears with that kind of boost in the treble, it's still not particularly enjoyable for me. So I use just a piece of foam in here, and I basically just insert it and kind of work it around so it's flat and it's not bulging up anywhere. But I basically keep a piece of foam in underneath this pad here, and that I had them measured, and they are basic. This foam, it's from a M40X actually, or not an M40. Yeah, what was it from? It was from another headphone. I can't remember exactly which one. But it basically just does a good job of killing the peak without this particular foam. Not all foam is going to work the same, but it does a good job of killing the peak without raising the treble or the mid-range, like at all, really, actually. So great there. I've also heard that tissue paper works really well for killing the peak, or not tissue, toilet paper works really well for killing the peak. So if you're gonna get them, if the peak like try it. I think it's a stellar headphone even with the peak. And another thing with peaks is like, I think the reason why the HD800 bugged me so much, and I know I'm gonna get hate for this, but it was not just that there was a peak, it was that there's a peak without resolution. So when you have a peak without resolution, it's a major problem for me. Whereas when you have a peak that still retains resolution, because the driver in this is incredibly resolving, that's a lot more accepting to my ears. So yeah. Will you by any chance review the Sundara? I would say probably. They're pretty insane, by the way. They're very good. Actually, they're if you're interested in picking them up, I'm not sure how long they're going to be on sale, but I do know that they are on sale for like $350 right now instead of $500. You can find them on Amazon, I think. It's a pretty good deal. They're pretty insane. They're pretty nuts. I mean, even at $500, like they're still really, really, really good. Like really good. What is the sound signature of the Sundara? Okay, so I was expecting a kind of an extreme 4XX, and they're not really that way. They're narrower than the 4XX. The bass response is cleaner and definitely a lot more detailed, but it isn't as much in amount. So the 4XX is like an inherently warmer headphone, but because of the treble on this headphone, which is, it's not incredibly loud, but it kind of comes across that way because it's so flippin' fast and like really, really fast. And the I don't know, it has a very like close, clean sound signature. Like it's closer than the 1990s are. Not as close as a 6XX, but still very close. Definitely more intimate than a 4XX. Cleaner sounding than a 4XX. Quicker than a 1990, I would say. Sundara versus HE1000. So the HE1000, the only major complaint that I have with Sundara is the greatest for soundstage, and that's kind of the biggest difference between them and the HD or HE1000. Is the HE1000 has this, to me, it's not the widest, but for whatever reason it feels and sounds so natural to me on the HE1000, whereas the Headphone Sundara is not really a super wide or natural sounding soundstage. It's pretty intimate as a headphone in general, so that's really what you get. Now, one of the biggest things about this headphone that I love is the comfort. It's like super lightweight for a planar. It fits pretty okay. It's not like this big crazy headband like some of the other Headphones are. It's still kind of big though. The actual ear cups, and I actually talk more about this in I think Wednesday's video. The headband structure is not great, but the actual ear cups are fantastically well built. They're pretty awesome. So Sundara versus M1060, Sundara all the way, 100%. Yeah, for me. Sundara has a metallic sounding treble. I'll have to listen to it again. I know that M1060 always had a metallic sounding treble to me. Like that was one of the, I think I made a video describing it as that actually. Sundara over the 660s. Yes. Yes. For most music. For if I could, I'd change it depending on what I was listening to. Like for vocal music, that was entirely vocals. Definitely the Sundara, or I'm sorry, the 660. But every other type of music, because of the incredibly solid bass performance, and the just like crazy capability of that thing, Sundara, 9 times out of 10. The Madhouse coffee, man. Sundara or LCD2C? Totally up to preference on what you like more. If you like a warmer sound signature, go with the LCD2C. If you like a more not stark, I think that's a little harsh, but if you like a cleaner sound signature, more analytical, go with the Sundara. Haven't done the HG700s. Nobody's offered, and it's probably because, well, I don't think a lot of people own them. To be completely candid with you, I don't think I don't think a lot of people own them. So, okay. So if anybody asked any questions, the comments are down now. So if you asked any questions earlier that I didn't get to, I'll answer them now. Ninja, go ahead and email me, dude. You can find my email on pretty much at the bottom of the description of any of my videos. I think it's on there. The DT990s. I really wish. I like it when companies use names for headphones, like the Sundara or the Argon. I hate it when they use numbers. I don't know why. I know it's a thing though. I think like there's some like, I think it's a Chinese regulation that it has to like follow some certain number naming thing. That's why it's like almost always you'll see like 2 letters and then a number, like HD700 or DT990 or SR80s or you know, etc. HE1000s, etc., etc. Don't have an opinion on the 990 Pro stock version. If you want to send them in, please email me. Headphone is a low build can. HE4XX and 5000 quality is good in my opinion. Yeah, like I would say it's like middle of the road. It's not like stellar for the build quality of Headphone in general, but it's definitely not like horrible. But then with certain headphones, they do have issues with like driver failures and things like that. But I don't know. It's hard to say how much of that is like 5 years ago, because sometimes, you know, the history of a company can kind of interrupt its current progress. But I don't really have a strong opinion on it about that. So. Sundara or the Fostex TRXOO for bass? I mean, if you're talking about amount, the XOO has more. It has more bass. But if you're talking about cleanliness and quality, definitely the Sundara. Planar bass pretty much always will beat out, almost always will beat out dynamics for me, for my preference. Almost always. There are a couple of counterexamples, like I like the bass on the 1990 more than the Sundara, because it's a little bit more in amount than the Sundara is, but it's also just as clean to my ears, at least, as the Sundara. So, okay, let's catch up on some questions here. Yeah, if anybody has the HD800Ss, I'd love to hear them. I've heard them at an audio event. I've never listened to them like in home, and I'd love to check them out and review them, and especially while the HD800 is still fresh in my memory. Any idea why there's almost no YouTube reviews of the Headphone Sundara? I have no idea, honestly. I don't know. I get a lot of questions about him too, so I'm assuming so does every other reviewer. And I think I don't really watch audio reviews, as odd as that is. But I haven't seen the video, but I've seen like it just pop up on my feed. I think Korowong, I can't ever remember his damn name. I think he has a review of them. I think Tile had a review. I guess he still has it, but doesn't review headphones anymore. But I think he had a review as well. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go bullet around here. What's your daily all-around enjoyment headphone? DT 1990s. Have you had anything in that you think could be the next step up from an LCDX? I don't know about a step up as much as like a sidestep. Like you could do like an HE 1000. That's gonna cost, or maybe what are the ARYA, however that's pronounced, is supposed to be, I don't know for certain, but it's supposed to be pretty good, and very comparable to the HE 1000. You could try that one. That's going to give you kind of a different sound signature, a little bit wider, not necessarily warmer, but definitely to me a little bit less analytical compared to the X, and a little bit more pleasing. I wouldn't go for the 4. I don't think it's worth it. I actually, between the 4 and I think the 4 makes a better flagship than the X does, but I think my preference on which one I actually like more and would own if they were the same cost, or if I could just have either one of them, I'd choose the X probably. And the 4 is also crazy heavy, so. But there are other lower end headphones, like I just buy a bunch of lower tier headphones if you're considering some of the higher ones, like 4XX, 6XX, or a 58X, one of those two. Maybe some 1990s. Those are stellar headphones and honestly compete all the way up in the price bracket, in my opinion. Or the Alex, that's a great option. Something else to check out. Are there any... Wait, are you into anything other than audio gears? Yeah, I'm into a ton of stuff, actually. I just don't talk about it that much. So obviously, you've seen the channel, so you know the productions. So I'm into cameras and stuff like that. I'm really interested in motorcycles. I'm interested in cars. I love movies. I've picked up cooking recently against my better judgment. And been learning to make sushi. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, Jordan. Oh, never mind, Jordan, you disappeared. I don't know why you deleted that comment, but I won't say anything more about it, I guess. Anything you've heard from the Headphone 5 SE? No, haven't. Tried those. Still I'm clueless as to why Zeus reviewed the Atticus and the Icon with suede pads. They ruined the damn sound signature. I don't know. Maybe he got them with suede pads, or did he put suede pads on them? I don't know. Arya? I don't know. Is there ever a winner for the Beryllium Bluetooth headphones? I don't know. I haven't checked it. I think the only Beryllium Bluetooth headphone I checked out were the M&Os, and those were okay. Your preference on headphones under $1,000. I'll give you my top 3 right now. Top 4. I'll narrow it down to 4. LCD2Cs, the Alex, the DT 1990, and the Sundara. And that's just what's popping into my head at the moment. Just PW Poner, just Pawner, whatever. Long time lurker. It's a great way to put it. Although I've never commented, a bit off topic, but what coffee are you drinking? So it's boring. It's just Starbucks house blend, and bought some grounds yesterday, and I'm just drinking it all up. It's cheap and it's highly caffeinating. So yeah. Worst dad? LOL. Am I a dad? What do you think of EQing for headphones and to test them like that? Not good. I don't have a problem with people EQing their headphones, so I don't really have an opinion about that. I really personally don't care all that much. But I think that a review should be done as close to stock form as you can get them. Sometimes people will send in a headphone that's been slightly modified. You have to do the best with what I got. And you know, I'll notify people in the review, be like, hey, this is what's going on with this headphone. But you know, oh my God, coffee reviews, that's a great fucking idea. I never thought of that. I should do that. Oh shit, my mind just went, what was I talking about before? Oh, so yeah, EQing headphones. So, here's the thing. I think everybody does things a little bit differently, and I think to review a headphone, you have to isolate as many variables as possible. And you know, everybody, for the most part, has a different DAC and amp combination. So that's one hurdle that we have to jump over. That's where having multiple amps and DACs at the same time is beneficial, because you get kind of a general interpretation of the sound. Or you could just get something really clean that maybe might be one of the purest versions of the sound, for a mid-range example being the THX 789. That's going to be a great reference point to start from. And then with like EQing and modifying, it's like, then you start to get into how willing your participants are to actually do it. It's hard for me to justify doing that to a headphone because, one, I'm not extremely experienced with EQing. I don't feel like I have a great grasp on it. You know, I can do it. I think I'm okay at it. I'm not great. And I also don't think that many people, I don't think the majority of people are willing to do it. And it just opens up a lot of kind of area of questions, and not everybody's going to be willing to do it. So it's difficult. It's difficult. So, yeah, probably not on the EQing for reviews, at least. What's a good DAC to pair with the 789? I liked the, I don't know of a cheap balance DAC. Obviously the Socrates 1541 that I tried on it was awesome. But I like the Grace S DAC. It's like $100 for just a super clean USB interface. It's only USB though, so if you don't want to run USB, if you want to run optical or coaxial, it's not a good option. If I prefer planar headphones over Driver 1, should I look at electrostat? I'm not sure what you're asking there, buddy. I'm sorry. I feel like coffee reviews could get snobby super quickly. I don't want to be a snob. I already try like super damn hard not to be an audio snob. Like I try and enjoy everything and see where everything has its place. But some headphones, I'm looking at you, specific headphone that I will not name yet, are just completely shit. But I try and be positive about everything. Mr. Stubby, I'm not gonna say anything. Wink, wink. Similarities between people's coffee preferences is probably very telling of their sound signature preferences. Maybe, maybe. I kind of like everything though. Like for coffee, like I'll go from like a super light blonde roast to a really, really heavy and thick dark roast, and I have no problems doing that. Although I will say that Folgers is pretty much the bane of my existence. That is the worst coffee I think I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm not trying to be a snob. It's so bad. So horrendous, man. It sucks because every time you go to a freaking, I don't know how they got so popular, but every time you go to a damn hotel, any hotel, I could probably go to a hotel in New Zealand. They probably have Folgers there. It's like everywhere. It's disgusting too. I feel that coffee review is going to be boring and less views. I don't know, man. I don't know. I wouldn't do it on this channel, obviously. But like, here's the thing. Coffee is the single biggest addiction in the world. And it's socially acceptable. Like, it's okay for me to be drinking this. Whereas if I was smoking a cigar or drinking right now, there'd probably be some people who are like, you shouldn't be doing that. Which is, yeah, it's fine, but the coffee community is a lot bigger than the audio community. So there's that. I also learned how to, in case you don't know, a brief history of Josh. I worked for Starbucks for about, I want to say about a month. Absolutely hated it. The people are horrendously like over demanding. It's like nobody ever yelled at me, which probably wouldn't have gone over super well because I don't like when people yell at me. I don't respond super well to it in like an aggressive manner. But there's like a few like baristas that I saw. It was like my first job. There's a few baristas that I saw. Hello, hello, hello. Miss Harriet. Nick, is that you? If that's you, Nick, that's hilarious. Anyways, there was a few baristas that I saw like get yelled at, like literally yelled at because they messed up somebody's order, which is just ridiculous. It's a cup of coffee. It does not matter. You don't need to yell at somebody and ruin their fucking day, man. Sorry for the cursing, but I don't know. It's just like any job, like any fast food restaurant, like those people, like they're just doing their jobs. Shit happens, you know, like people fuck up and, you know, it is what it is, but you don't need to yell at people, I don't think. So, yeah, if you run out of breath ordering your coffee, you're pretentious, I agree. Okay, so Natarian, I don't think you're Nick, but if you are, that's hilarious. So the hello, hello, hello thing, this is the reason why I bring Nick up. So this, I'm gonna laugh because this story is funny to me, but nobody else is gonna care. Nobody else is gonna find it funny, but I'm gonna tell you anyways. So there are three people you need to know about. There's Mike, there's Sean, and there's Nick. First names only, those are the only people that are relevant to the story. Sean, Nick, Mike, and I go up to Tahoe. We lived in Sacramento, California at the time, specifically Folsom. We went up to Tahoe because I think Mike's family either had a family friend that they could rent the cabin from or something like that. So they were renting the cabin, and big cabin, lots of rooms, and but we had a couple of parents that, like I think Mike's parents were there, Mike's dad or something like that. So we had to split the rooms up, and me, Sean, and Nick ended up sharing the same room. And there was like 3 different beds, so it was all cool. It was just a big ass room, and so Nick is a weird motherfucker, right? He's a strange guy, and So we had stayed up pretty much all night just hanging out. I don't think we were drinking or anything because I think at the time we were all like 18 to 20-ish, 21 range, somewhere around there. We're all there. Maybe even, yeah, I think about 18 to 21. I think I was the youngest. And so nothing really happened that was like spectacular at that time, but so Nick is like kind of notoriously a kind of a sleep talker, like, and because they okay, so I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. Sorry, I'm kind of flipping around. I haven't thought about this story in years, but Nick, Sean, and Mike literally grew up two houses from one another, like their whole life. So they went, you know, like over to each other, and then I moved in when I was into the neighborhood, at least when I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, somewhere around there. And then I met Mike in high school, and then we all became friends after that. And I lived like right down the street. I lived like 5-minute bike ride away, like same neighborhood, but just like around the corner. And so, I mean, they had obviously, when growing up, they had sleepovers and shit like that. So, you know, they grew up making fun of Nick for, and I never heard this, but they grew up making fun of Nick because it was like a sleep talker. He would like get up and stand up, and he would do some creepy ass shit. Like, there's this one story that Sean used to tell where he was over at Nick's house, and he was like sleeping on the floor, and all of a sudden in the middle of the night he wakes up, and Nick is like just standing over him, like closed eyes, just standing there, just like terrifying, right? Like you wouldn't ever want to wake up to a dude standing over you just asleep. And then I guess Sean was like, you know, are you awake? What's going on? And then I guess Nick just like eventually walked back to bed and fell asleep, didn't remember anything. So I'd always heard these stories. And then, so flash forward to the cabin, and so I think I was in a room like this. I was on the furthest left bed, Sean was in the middle bed, and then Nick was on the far right bed. And Nick had fallen asleep. Me and Sean were like just talking. Don't even remember what we were talking about. It's not really important. But then all of a sudden Nick, from like a light snoring sleep, like he was tired, he was out. He's like laying back, and then all of a sudden he sits up, eyes closed, and just goes, hello, hello, hello. Like, it freaked me and Sean out so bad, man. Like it was terrifying to us, dude. We were like, just like, what the shit? Like, what the hell? So, yeah, it was fun. But, so we always made fun of him. We printed like posters and shit for him for when he came over. And then he just sat right back down, went to sleep. And so far we never never let it go. But yeah, he is possessed. He's a weird guy too. He's I think he's going to college. We're going to doctor or something like that right now. Actually, maybe even graduated. I think he might be going to grad school. But yeah, smart guy, funny kid. We always make fun of him though. He was always like the butt of the joke kid. But we love the guy to death. Like it wouldn't be the group without him. Yeah, sleep talking's crazy. It's a little weird, man. That was probably the first time that somebody has like, that I've seen somebody asleep and then move to like an awake position while still being asleep and talk very clearly and concisely. No like half asleep mumbling or the kind of shuffling, nothing like I've always seen that, but like straight up awake and just going hello, hello, hello. And then just back down. It's just like, what the hell, man? So, yeah. Yeah, Step Brothers sleepwalking. It was probably something along those lines, man. Like, it's weird. It's weird. Like, nobody in my family ever did that. So, like, I grew up with all girls, like 2 sisters and my mom, for the most part, for like the majority of my life. And nobody was ever like that, so. Sorry, I'll have to get back to some questions. I got the 650 and been wanting to buy the 1990 for a long time. Worth it? Absolutely. Different sound signatures, so not going to be the same. If you can keep the 650s and buy the 1990s, I would definitely do that. If you have to sell the 650s for the 1990s, still worth it, but I think you're gonna really benefit and enjoy the two different sound signatures if you have both the 1990 and the 650. But the 1990s are definitely worth it. They're my pick, one of the best at that price range. It's between that, the Sundara now, spoiler alert, and the LX. But the 1990s are a great headphone. Am I getting the ZMF Aeolus for a review? I don't know. He offered a couple, and just because I want to make sure that this is not here, I'll tell you for sure. Give me 1 second here, guys. I'm sorry. The guy who has offered, which we haven't confirmed yet, I don't have him here or a shipping notification, he just emailed me lightly about it, was ZMF Classics, Blackwoods, and Oris. So not the Aeolus yet. I'm sure I'll get it eventually, but I just don't know when. I'm sorry, Jordan. Which closeback headphones would I recommend for an office setting? Depends on your price range. And how ridiculous you're willing to look. Like THXOs were pretty good. The EL8 titaniums, if you can find them like used or something, would be a good option. Super easy to drive. They have like a lightning plug for a phone if you've got an iPhone. And those don't look horrendous. So, yeah. I listened to the Sundara but found them so perfect they sounded boring. What? Yeah, I mean they're kind of a, I don't know, they're if you've heard like a 4XX, they're not like a 4XX. Like if you're expecting the next bump up from a 4XX, it is, but it's not the same exact sound signature. The 4XX, for whatever reason, is very, comes across very strong, but I wouldn't call it a boring headphone at all. But yeah. Joshua, one more question. So my 650s work with a ship full of 2. Will the 1990s work too, or do we need an amp DAC upgrade? So the full of 2 is a great little amplifier. The 1990s are very efficient, not like crazy efficient. I think they're more efficient than the, wait, let me look this up. Let me just double check. I want to say they're 250 ohms, and they have a sound pressure level of 102 decibels. Okay, so for my personal use, they don't need a ton of power. They like clean power. They're pretty revealing for a medium power headphone, or medium power requirement headphone. So they're going to reveal all the flaws and benefits of an amplifier. But you can definitely drive them and enjoy them off of a full of 2. Will you benefit from a higher end amp or a better sounding amplifier? Definitely. But do you need one right away? No. If you enjoy the 650s on the full of 2, I ran the 650s in the full of 2 for a long time actually, and I enjoyed it a lot. And on this, on the 1990s, you should enjoy it a lot too. Do I recommend one though? Yes, I do. Eventually, down the line. And you may even also hear the 1990s and not really see a need for the 650s, depending on your preference, and sell the 650s and buy in the full of 2 and buy a nicer amp. But I'd say you're good to go on the amp thing. LCX, not Nastrop CTH. Oh no, I haven't tried it. No. And then the LCX. No. Sorry, I didn't recognize the acronyms. I recognize the names, but not the acronyms there. Best headphone to complement the 1990s in the price range, I would probably say, just because they're kind of polar opposites are the 2Cs, the LCD 2Cs. Both are really enjoyable, but for completely different reasons. And I think that's kind of the perfect complementing thing, is like you don't want something that's too similar or bad. You just want something that's completely different that gives you two different, you know, very, very different sound experiences. Thanks, man. Glad I could help. They're a great headphone. They're a great headphone. What's the DAC and the Jotunheim good? I haven't really judged it. Like the review's coming out for the Jotunheim soon. Like it's already done. It's already up. If you're on the Patreon, actually, I think you can view it now. I didn't really use the DAC in it that much, and I didn't judge it as a DAC amp. I judged it as the amp using the Grace S DAC, just so that I can keep the DAC consistent that I use, consistent between all of the amplifiers that I test. So I didn't really use it. It worked well, but to tell you the truth, I don't really spend a lot of time listening to the Jotunheim other than for some comparative sake, can't talk, other than, let me start again, other than for comparing like how a headphone takes to an amplifier, and for the actual review. But other than that, I haven't done a lot of A/B testing because it doesn't really matter that much to me. Grace S DAC, J4 or Jealousy, J4 Jealousy. How would you compare the L300 Limiteds to the flagship like HD800S or HE1000? So I don't know about the 800S, but it completely shits all over the 800 in my opinion. The HE1000 though is a better comparison. The HE1000s remind me the most of any electrostatic headphone. They remind me the most of an electrostatic headphone. They reminded me the closest of the stacks of any headphone that I've ever tried. Yeah, for real. You guys are making fun of me for not being able to talk. It happens, man. Sometimes your brain just goes, like cracks out. Regarding like the spatial kind of sound everything has, it's like almost this transparent imaging. It's very strange. And the HE1000 is very similar to the stacks, except that it has sub bass. And so L300s versus HE1000s, I'm gonna go with HE1000s, especially because, like I said in the actual full review of it, they're not proprietary towards a energizer like a Stax headphone is. But the HE1000s are more expensive. But I have heard the Arias or RYs or whatever the hell they are from Headphone are very, very similar to the HE1000s. So if that's true, and they're coming in at I think $1,200 or $1,300, maybe even $1,400, that's still a really good deal, and something that I would definitely get behind. But I mean, compared to the L300 Limited, it's like if you already have an Energizer, it's a $700, $700, $800, I think somewhere around there. It's a sub $1,000 headphone versus a $2,100 headphone. It's kind of two different price brackets, so I don't know if it's a completely fair comparison, but yeah. What do I think is a good Bluetooth amplifier? I haven't really tried too many Bluetooth amps. I think the only one that, wait, was that? Actually, I don't even think I've tried any Bluetooth amps that I've reviewed. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. I don't think I've tried any major ones. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious about my opinions about the Arias too. I really would like to get them in and see how I mean, I don't have the H1000s here anymore, but I spent a lot of time with those because I really enjoyed them. And if anybody has them, please send them in because I'd really love to take a look at them. So, anybody got any more questions? If not, I'll probably wrap it up. So I don't know. Yeah, that Nick's story though. I keep thinking about that. I've been thinking about that while I've been talking here, and yeah, he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. We had a little friend group there. Had a lot of good times for a long time. A long time. Andromeda thoughts they were great. Not like the end all be all for sound. IMO. And they were like DMSs, I think, and they were okay, but yeah. Aging and how it affects hearing preferences. So I think everybody's a little bit different, and it depends on how loud and how long you've been listening and what your career is and how much time you spend with loud noises and things like that. And so everybody's going to have kind of a different aging listening experience. One thing that I've been thinking of, not really thinking about, but noticing lately is like, the more you listen to headphones, you get to be kind of like practiced in listening. And it's a weird thing to kind of explain, but like my parents were here for Thanksgiving. They were here all week. And at the time I was showing them that you can, yes, it said IMO out loud. It was more like rhetorical than anything, but, or not rhetorical, but it was more satirical. And like I was showing my stepfather the KEF Q100s out in the front room. And I was talking about like the imaging and the soundstage, and to me it's a very obvious thing, but he's also a lot older, so you know there's some frequency differences between us, quite a few, but just like locatability, like he wasn't able to isolate the location as well as I could, and it's hard to say what's age and what's just practice. And I think everybody kind of learns and gets in their habits of, and I don't know how good I am at this, but I do try to bring myself out of this and listen for every aspect. Obviously I fail at every aspect, but I try my best. But I think everybody kind of gets into a habit of listening for specific things. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how people are, and that's perfectly okay. But you get to like, some people will focus on resolution, or some people will focus on detail, or some people will focus only on soundstage or tonality or bass response or treble. And the list goes on, or the specific part of the song, I want to see how it plays on this headphone. And people do that, and that's perfectly okay. But yeah, so I think that as you listen more, you get kind of, it's very easy to slip into listening for the same specific thing, so it just depends person to person. So I don't know if audio preference changes though. I think music preference probably changes. Like the kids listening to, you know, hip hop nowadays, will they listen to hip hop in the future? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? You know, it's hard to tell. Are you going to do a giveaway soon? Yes. I think Periapt is going to send me a cable for the, I think, I'm not 100% certain, for the Sundara review, and I want to give a cable for that away. And I think I might have some other stuff that I'll be giving away soon too. Cord DAX, very pricey, very pricey. But I don't have any strong opinions because I haven't really heard them here. And I'd love to check them out though. But yeah, haven't heard them. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. So yeah, thanks for chilling with me here and drinking some coffee, talking about headphones. So, all right, guys. Bye.